Hi, Kathy here from Kathy's Cute Creations. Today is week 3 of the All Together Spooky Quilt. You should have downloaded this on Monday. Real quick, I just want to make an announcement. The Fort Worth Fabric Studio has reached out to me and asked me if I would do a Christmas table runner. And so I'm going to do that for them on my YouTube video. Let me tell you a little bit about it so you can get over and get yourself a kit. It is called Pin Tucked Pinwheel Table Runner Kit. Right now they're on the home website, so go to fortworthfabricstudios.com, go where it says home up at the top, click on that. From there, click on shop by kits, and from there you will see it. And again, it's called Pin Tucked Pinwheel Table Runner Kit. Now I'm on the site right now. I'm going to tell you what comes with it. It is finished size at 17 by 51. You get the fabric for the complete quilt, which is 3 yards. It'll include the binding, the backing, and the table runner pattern. Go ahead, go over there, get yourself one. It's going to be super duper easy, and I will tell you when it comes. So let's get started on our week 3. This is going to be so much fun, and it is a large square. Let's get started. Here are the fabrics we're going to be using, A through G, and part 1 is actually making flying geese, but I'll tell you what, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do part 2 first, just to get you started, since that is the simplest to do, and it'll give you confidence if you're not sure of the flying geese. And then put these squares together, and I'm going to line them up here on this table, and I'll show them to you. I forgot to mention the middle block, which is in. It's the only one that's a single color by itself. This is the layout for it. We have 3 rows. We'll do row 1, row 2, and row 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew these 2 fabrics together and these 2, and that'll make up row 1. Then we're going to sew these 2 and these 2 for row 2, and these 2 and these 2 for row 3. And then when we're done, we will connect row 1 with 2 with 3. And I'll show you how we're going to match up our seams. Now, if you're really new and you need to mark your 1/4 inch, by all means, go ahead and do that now. You can use your pencil, whatever you'd like. And you know me, I've got to pin everything, so I'm going to put pins on my squares as I sew them. I'm using a 12 needle. My stitch is 2.5. I did clean out my machine from all the projects that I've been doing this past weekend. And we're doing our 1/4 inch. I have that finished, and then I'm going to take the next one and I'm going to attach it. Here's where you want to make sure that your corners line up. So this is what you should have, and you want to make sure, let me hold it up here for you. You want to make sure that when you go over to your iron that you want to relax your seams, so you're going to press them before you press it open. We're going to have one row, all the seams are going to go to the left, and then the next row will go to the right, and the next row to the left. This way they will all nestle. So go ahead and finish making the next 2 rows and then iron them, and we'll come back and I'll show you how to pin it. Now they're all lined up once you've ironed them. And now we're going to attach them because we're going to be matching the seams. So make sure that you nestle your corners here. That's how you get that really nice even look. And that's the reason that you want to go to the right when you're ironing it on one row, and then to the left to make your fabric go, because then it nestles really easy and then there's not a lot of bulk in the corner. Go ahead and pin it. And this is considered a 9 patch. And make sure that if you're using directional fabric and you didn't buy this bundle here, this kit, that your fabrics are going in the right direction. If you want them to go upside down or you want them to go to the right or the left, make sure they're all doing that before you sew them. So when you've got it pinned together, it'll be just like that. And see how there's a little bit, looks like a little bit of extra fabric here? You can pull that a little taut and that'll match. Okay, so let's just go ahead and sew that. Your block should look like this once they're all together. And now we're going to start on the step 1, which is the flying geese. So just put this aside. The very first thing we're going to do is we're going to take all of our fabric C, which is the black in this case from the kit. You're going to turn it upside down and we're going to mark corner to corner. You want to make sure that your ruler is bigger than your square because you do not want to have to adjust your ruler, and you want to make sure that it comes off of each point. Now take your pen, whatever kind of marker you're using, whether it be an ink pen. If it's black, that's going to be fine. You're not going to see through it because you're on the back side. And I put my ruler a little left of the corner. The reason being that when my pen gets up against it, let me show you here. See how my ruler's a little bit off of the corner? Right here. See that? The ruler's not on the actual corner, it's over to the left, but yet my mark is going to come straight down. You want to do that on this end and the opposite end. So you're going to have your ruler on covering both ends here. You're going to press down on your ruler so it doesn't move on you, and then you're going to mark your line. And you're going to do this on every one of your squares. Now while you're marking this fabric, don't forget, this is the bias going this direction, so it has stretch. So you really want to hold that ruler down so that when you go along here, you're not pushing real hard on your pen so that you don't distort this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our rectangle strip and we're going to lay our square on top of it, and you want the part that you've marked in the middle. So starting from the middle, going down towards the left-hand corner. That's how you want to position it. On the left-hand side of your rectangle. And then we're going to sew on that specific line. So let's do that first. I have mine pinned, and you're doing right sides together. And we're going to sew from up here down to this corner. Now since you're sewing at a diagonal, you should not have a problem with your fabric trying to go down into your machine if you have your zigzag foot. That's what plate. I call that the zigzag plate because it has the opening so that you can zigzag. If you don't have that kind of plate, then you're going to have a plate like this that has a hole in it right in the middle, right there. And you won't have to worry about your fabric going down inside there. And like I said, we're going to go right down that line. On that line you're sewing. And just take your time. You do not need to lock it into place. It should look like this. I did not have to move any of my needles. See the line right there? Now, what I'm going to do, because I always do this, and I did not mark it the first time around, is I'm going to remark, and I'm going to show you how I'm doing it. You still see my stitch line right here. Now, I'm going to go 1/4 inch. This is my 1/4 inch on this ruler right here. So I'm going to put the black dash lines on the sewing line that I just did, and I'm going to mark it again. Now normally you would cut this off, but this is a lot of fabric and I really don't want to waste all of that fabric, so I'm going to mark it again. So I'm putting 2 marks on here, and I'll show you here as soon as I get it finished, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. So the first line is my cutting line. The second line is my sewing line. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew this all the way down this line here, which is the outer line. Then I'm going to cut it right here, which gives me a 1/4 inch from here to there. And then this will actually make a half square triangle block, which I can use in another project. And so I don't want to just throw this away nor waste it. That's what I'm going to do on every one of these blocks. I went ahead, I sewed my block, and now I'm going to cut it. Here's the block I'm keeping. I'm going to fold it like that, and I'm going to iron it. Let me back up the camera a little bit. So it looks like this. I'm going to press my seam here to relax it, open it up, and iron it, and then we're going to do the right-hand side. But look at all this fabric that's left over, and that's a pretty good size square. So I'll have 8 of these when I'm finished. So go ahead and sew all these together, and then when we get them all sewn together, we'll open them up on this 1/2 side. This is the way your block should look. I got all 4 of mine lined up. There's what I did with my extras. This time we're going to put this on the right-hand side, right sides together, and you're having your mark is starting up at the top left, going down to the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and get all these pinned, and then we're going to sew one of them. I have them all marked, and I'm going to do one at a time, starting at the top. This is considered the beak of the goose. Remember now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm doing both at the same time, so I'm doing that other square also. Either do it at the same time. I'll go ahead and I'll iron it, then I'll cut it, and we'll just take a look at it. I ironed it first, then I cut it, then I re-ironed it after I opened it. And what your main objective is when you make these flying geese is you want to make sure that from this point to the edge of your fabric that you have a 1/4 inch. So I take my ruler, and remember now, my 1/4 inch is from this line to the tip. So I do have the 1/4 inch. I got a little bit, as you can see there, for play. So that's fine. That's perfect. And that's what you want yours to be like. So let me go ahead and finish sewing them all, and I'll show them all to you when they're finished. I want to show you that my square, the 9-inch patch, the 9 blocks, is a little bit bigger than the 10.5 square, which is what the length and the width is supposed to be. Now I measured my flying geese. They are 10.5 inches long. So all I did was pin this first one on there. When I get done pinning them, I'm going to do from top, this is the top of my, or well actually this is the left hand side, from side to side, and then from top to bottom. That's how I put them on. And I will trim them after I get done, because I don't want to trim anything off my geese. I don't have a problem trimming a little bit off my block. That doesn't make any difference. It is like 1/8 of an inch. So even though all of these are a 1/4 inch sewn, it still ended up being a little bit too big, but that's fine because my flying geese are the correct size. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this, then I'm going to show you the next one I pin. Well, actually, I'll go ahead and show you now. So you know, my big thing is to try to find the middle. You're going to take your flying geese, and you're going to fold it. Let me back you up a little bit here. You're going to fold it in half because you're trying to find the middle of it. This is the part that we're attaching up here. You know that that little point is the middle, but go ahead and fold your fabric anyway. On this piece, I went ahead and folded it so I can get the middle square. So it's seam to seam. That's what you're trying to do, is put seam to seam right here. And then fold it so that you get the middle. So I pinch it a little bit. So that's the middle of my block right here. Then I take the tip, and I'm going to put a pin through it to show you. Wrong choice of colors on that. Let's go with this color right here. Oops. This color instead of an orange pin so you can see it. Let me show you this blue pin. That is the middle right there. So you want to take that, and that's a 1/4 inch from here to the tip, and you want to pin it to this here. Make sure I'm in the camera there. To match those up, because we're going to pin this. And that's your middle, so I just do it like that. I hold on to it, and then I'll go back out here to the edge where the seam is at, and I'll put my pin over there first on the left here. Then I'll go over to the right where I have it the center, because I still got it with my pin. I'm just holding my pin in there. Go over here and pin this end. So just like that. And now I can pin the middle one and the right and the left. And that's what I'll do, and I'll sew both these ends. Now, since I know that I'm sewing from the left down this direction, I went off the center so I won't hit my pin. The center's right here, because I can stop and then continue to sew. And that's what I'm going to do here. And then if you want, which I've done this before, let me get me a marking pen here, is I'll take my friction pen, because this is on the inside, and I'll mark right across the area that I want to stay on this side of the line, because if I go over that line, that's going to be on my point, and I do not want to clip the nose off of that. So I'm just going along here making sure, and it doesn't go over, it goes right next to it. Pull my pin out, and then continue. You know you will not chop your nose off by accident on the goose. We'll take a look at it here in a minute, see if my mark was correct. There it is right there. And I'm going to do the other side the same way. I'm going to mark that little area to make sure that I don't sew over it. So I'll mark it right here so that I know I stay on this side, the right hand side of it. And we'll just repeat the process. Now I'm coming up on it, so I'm going to be careful and slow down. Because if I don't get close enough to it, then when I look at it, I'll just turn around and come back for that one little area. And I'll show you here, because I went a little bit further away so you could see it. It doesn't hurt if you have to go back over it again. See? Make sure it's not too blurry. There you go. Now go ahead and press this. Now that I've sewn each side on, this is where I can do the trimming. And what I do is I go from this block to this block. So always make sure your ruler is bigger than what you're trimming. This way it's going to trim up this excess down here, which is too long. And then I'll flip it around and do the other side. And it's always to sew it a little bit too big than small. You cannot increase it, because you'd have to add fabric to it. And even when I cut, I'll even cut a little bit big so that it won't be perfectly on it, the size, so that when I put the next fabric up against it, it'll fit. What I'm going to do now is put my corners on. So hold on one second, because before this goes on there, we're still going to line it up correctly. We'll put our purple on, which I've got buried over here. All right, now you would normally put this right sides together just like this. But what I'm going to do is I am going to flip it upside down. And the reason being that this is a lot of fabric here. That's going to be 3 pieces of fabric, which is really going to be thick. And it's not going to want to go through my machine. So I don't want to come down on the other side this direction and bump into this. So I'm going to use this as the top and put my pin down here to start it. It's still going to be right sides together. The only thing is I'm doing it, I guess you could say backwards, because I'm doing it on the other side. If you want to do it the other direction, that's fine. Keeping in mind that when you go on this side and you sew down to here, once you get to this bulk, make sure it's pinned down so that your machine doesn't jam it and flip it over. That's what I'm trying to do, is trying to make it easier on me to sew it. And you can do it on either side. It's up to you. I'm just trying to make it really easy. My sewing machine, this one here that I'm sewing with, can actually take the bulk, because this foot, the little black little round circle that's on my foot, it actually will hold the back end of my foot up to go over a bulk at the very beginning. But a lot of people won't have that on their sewing machines. Like my older machine feet don't have that capability. Only this newish machine has it. Now that I got that pinned, I'm going to sew. This is the little black thing that I'm talking about right here. When you push this in, it's got a spring on it. It actually holds the back of that foot up to put a big thick piece of fabric underneath it to sew. Now the bulky part is going to be at the bottom, because that's where we have a little extra fabric. So if you need to help your machine pull it through, you can do that. If you need to use your stylus about now, that would work too. Also, if you want to start a leader ender, now what that is, it's a little piece of fabric that you put through your sewing machine before you put your project through, while it's still connected to the machine, okay? It's a little piece of fabric here that you can actually pull as you start on this piece, because it'll be attached. You won't cut the thread off. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so I take two little squares. I'm going to sew them together. I'm doing my 1/4 inch just like I would any other time. Right sides together. So I sew them along here. And when I get to the tail end, I don't cut it off now. I go ahead and I start my fabric for my project here. And if I need help pulling that through, this is where I got the help, because this is attached. So just pull on this little piece right here, and it's like pulling on your fabric. Because you can't grab the back end of here, which is up underneath the foot, so you'd be holding on to this. And you just pull a little bit, and it helps your fabric go along. Now the fabric comes out, and if you need to grab that fabric, you can. I hope that made a little bit of sense for you. And then just go ahead and sew this all the way down to the tail end. Then I'll be back. We have that much done, and now we need to do this bottom piece. So let's get it pinned. Well, there's that beautiful square right there. Now, doesn't that look nice? I hope you all have enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe. And I will see you next time. And one more note. I don't recall at the very beginning if I told you that that kit was not a free pattern. So if you're interested in it, you need to get over there and get it right now before it's gone. I think there were 7 left when I started my video. So there's 7 kits left. And if you want to follow me along, go ahead and buy it. Thanks everybody. Take care. See you next time. Bye-bye.